Present.
Walter,
Present.
Bonfiglio, Diversa,
Here.
Russell,
Here.
and Hastings.
Here. This time I'll let people from the community speak. If you'd like to address the council, please leave your name and address and limit your remarks to 5 minutes, and then we can address the council.
Ladies first.
Of course.
Okay. Christine Wygram, you said address as well?
Yeah.
111 Hunter Street, Jamestown. I have something to read. Can you hear me? And I hope I don't talk too fast. So, home to the National Comedy Center, Jamestown, New York sits on the world stage. The center is an amazing accomplishment that the City Council and residents can truly be proud of. You are. The center itself and events like the Lucy Fest attract tourists from all over the world. Those tourists are bringing a great deal of income to our community. So whatever our city leaders do must be done with this in mind. So I'm asking that the council please consider the look for Jamestown in hosting an horrific and unnecessary bow hunt. Local citizens and tourists, including children, having to watch wounded deer travel about and suffer before they finally succumb to their injuries. A deer hit with an arrow can take hours, days, and even weeks before finally dying. And why should the city of Jamestown risk its national and international reputation by inhumanely wounding our deer and then subjecting them to a long and agonizing death? We are better than this, and we can do better than this. There are many Jamestown residents who don't want a bow hunt, and hunting the deer won't diminish their population. Other deer will move in, and others will begin having twins and triplets when their numbers diminish. So why not seek more humane and permanent solutions for residents and for the animals who are just trying to coexist with us? There are alternatives that have been proven to work in other communities. If the city council intends to appoint a commission in regards to our deer population, I'm asking that individuals who want to look for alternative and innovative and more permanent solutions be invited to serve. And I would like to be part of that commission if possible, and I think there's some others that would as well. So, and I thank you for your time. I spoke before about Sandra Baker. She's still available, still does this kind of work. She can do this remotely. I know her fee at one time was $500 plus travel expenses, which would probably be around 100 or maybe 100 and a half. So I'm just asking that the council would. You have that, yes, thank you, yes, that's Sandra. Yes, so thank you very
Thanks.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Anyone else would like to address the council?
I'll go next. Hi, Joe Town, owner of Faces Pizza. I live in Bust but I'm here for business purposes. 549 West 3rd Street. And I'm here for two reasons. One is somewhat business related, and two is safety related. The first item is that as I drive around Jamestown, I notice that all of my friends who own restaurants, and I'm happy that this is the case, I don't want that to change, don't have meters in front of their restaurants. Forte, Lissandro's, the pub, Sauce, etc. don't have any meters in front of the restaurant. So really, the only quarters that the gentlemen who come up to collect out of the meter are for me in the morning when I'm making my ingredients, and Holly, who's my manager. And time gets away from us sometimes, so our tickets do pile up. And it is not in a highly desirable parking area at that time of day, that's for sure. You could see clear down to the ice rink, plenty of parking. I'd be surprised if you look at those meters if they've been making a couple of dollars a month, really. And it stinks, because it's hard to, do business in Jamestown and feel like you're getting an additional fee just to work there. We open at 4, meters go till 5. So we find a lot of our customers, especially the elderly, are parking across the street, to save the 50 cents or the dollar, and everything adds up, and I get why they would do it. So, I'm asking that we either develop a loading zone for my team in the morning, so we can unload groceries, unload produce, unload supplies, and not get ticketed. Again, as it is not a highly desirable parking area, there's no competition. I don't see why we need a meter there. And or take the meter down altogether, take the top of the meter off the pole like we see on Main Street, like we see on others. And I just did a loop around town just to make sure I wasn't gonna sound like a goonball and not have my facts straight, and I did see that on Main Street that's still the case. And then secondly, for the safety portion, I'm being 100% honest, I walk my customers across the street every single night, especially my elderly customers, because people fly down 4th Street to 3rd Street. This isn't me being dramatic, this is the case. I sit at the table, I look out the window, and there are near misses, as we call it, a near hit, almost every single day. And in fact, we had a gentleman, Lee Balin, he was life flighted last year because he was walking across the street to grab a pizza and he got whacked. And it was life threatening, he almost died. He was in the hospital same time my mom was, so I was going back and forth. Almost died, just because he wanted to get a pizza. And there's, and then if you look at it, and all of your Paces customers, thank you for that, at least most of you, and you can sit there while you're waiting for a pizza and watch and hear the horns blaring as, folks are battling as to which one was to go first. Folks miss the stop sign on 3rd, or they stop when they're on the hill because they don't know that they have to keep going, and there's always a battle there. It's a very contentious spot, it's a very hot spot, and I get really nervous about it, and so it's just Sunday. I was out there and, I had to go out in the middle of the road and literally stop traffic because there's a lady carrying a pizza trying to cross the road. And I just don't want to be the reason that someone dies because they're coming to get pizza, or someone gets in a car accident because the way the street is designed, we've all got on 4th to 3rd, it promotes you to pick up speed. You have those checkpoints down 4th, the red lights, and then you just get to Landmark, and you can really pick some steam up going down that left-hand turn down the street to the right. And I noticed myself doing it, not intentionally. It's just a great spot for the momentum of your car to pick up. So it's a big area, of a risk. It's a huge risk. And so I just want to be on the record that it's a risky area. I want to come to you and tell you it's a risky area. If something happened, I want it to be on record that I told you that it was going to happen, and I hope that we can prevent it. And I hope we can get maybe a traffic study. And I know Regina and I have been working, we talked yesterday about a traffic study or some kind of, I could shoot a video for you if you'd like, and to show you what the 4 to 5 to 6 hour, the time period's like from my perspective and from a customer's perspective. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention, and maybe we can work together to ensure that folks are safe, because we were moments away from an actual fatality last year. That's what I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
I will.
Well, first of all, I'm Doug Champ, 225 Bowen Street. And I applaud citizens and business owners coming forward for the city council and presenting their concerns and their ideas. Often not enough of that is done, so the interpretation of what the problems are in the community are kind of like observed and maybe not fully echoed. So you have a great pizza place. I like it very much, and I look forward to safety on your part. The housing issue in Jamestown, I brought this up at the housing committee. And the housing committee is like a non-standing committee. It like exists for interpretation purposes. It doesn't have the linkage to the city council. But I think now more than ever, the city's been indicted by editorial commentary about the problems of housing. It's not just Jamestown, it's Chautauqua County. But it's time for the city of Jamestown and the city council to understand that they got to incorporate a much far more reaching plan to support department development, the police department, anyone else involved in housing issues. So I'm going to ask again, if we can have a deer commission, we ought to be able to have a housing commission. I don't see why it's so difficult to do that. And the agenda forward has to be presented in a way that we show success and not the status quo. We'll wait another year. And I know that Crystal is trying to get more involvement with the council. So I just encourage the council to do everything they can about the housing issue. Now, another point of view is this, because I think the city of Jamestown is going to be facing some real financial issues this coming year and the years to come, because the American Rescue Plan money is over with. They're going to maybe recoup a few more dollars, you'll spend it, but for all practical purposes it is. So I just bring to your attention, not necessarily as a criticism, but necessarily as following of what the charter states regarding the budget. Because pretty soon, all you ladies and gentlemen of the city council are gonna have a city budget in front of you. It's gonna start to be working its way through the calendar year. And I've often thought that it needs to be done earlier, and it needs to engage the community more intelligently than waiting it out and seeing what happens down the road. And for instance, writing from your charter is this: during the first quarter of each year, the city council, with the input of the strategic planning committee, partnership, it doesn't exist. It hasn't existed. Didn't exist in the last administration. The purpose behind that is to have citizen involvement and input in developing the budgetary process. I know it's difficult to get people to serve on anything, but it's necessarily in your charter. If you don't want to do it, take it out of your charter. Take things out that do not have the consensus of making comments that need to be done. In addition to that, by the 1st of May, City Council is supposed to give to the mayor a formal submitted identification of priorities. Now, is that a fast track? I don't know, but what I want to see done here is that the mayor has a difficult job developing a budget to begin with, and the city council then has the ultimate responsibility of improving and developing it. So why not start early with this process? Maybe it is internal, maybe you're doing all these things, but the community then will have an opportunity to respond and maybe assist and help in developing the budget. So I would strongly recommend, if you're gonna have the Strategic Partnership Planning Commission involved, then involve them and start creating it. Otherwise, take it out of the charter. We don't need meaningless things in the charter that you're not gonna do. The other thing I guess I referred to, and I'm kind of looking forward to whether or not the mayor's gonna have a State of the City address. And at some point in time, is that something that's gonna happen? We're now approaching halfway, will be in June, halfway through the year. Is that something that we can look forward to, or is
It's
it
been
not gonna happen?
discussed, yes, but right now we're still trying to figure out where we were left.
Well, I guess
So
that
it's hard
tells
to talk
me,
about something that I don't know where he left us off at yet.
well, I guess you'll find that out, and then you'll advise us what that is. But that also is kind of like a process in itself of what cities are about. It's state, it's involvement, so that the community can know where it's going. And it's not too early to try and develop your budget. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Go ahead.
Robert Sisley, 20 Barker Street. I wasn't gonna speak up tonight, but I was just listening. But there is a council now, or there's a committee now for the deer. I'd like to volunteer to be on it, and I would also invite you to maybe get some compromises and see what your solution would be, and we'll work from there. We do have a big deer problem, which everybody knows, and it's not that I don't like deer, but I don't feel like spending $400 or $500 a year on plants and have them all ate, or tracks in my lawn, or bird crap or deer crap in my lawn. You know, that's my opinion, and I will help you guys whatever you want to do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Do you snowbird in Florida? Are you gonna be available in the wintertime too?
I'm here. I'm only gone like 6 weeks in Florida.
Okay.
I still officiate wrestling. So.
Anyone else like to address? Okay, before we move on to the committee, I just wanted to say that, I mean, I know we've discussed the deer issue a lot in the last several years. At this point, all options are on the table. We're not saying we're gonna go hunting down the streets, and we're not saying we're gonna do this or do that. We have to look at all viable alternatives, or a combination thereof. And you know, so again, it's gonna be a process to work through, and Joe and some of Bill and Andrew, and then getting a committee together to look at what other communities do, how they do it, is it effective, what's the cost associated with it, is it worth it, that kind of a thing, where you look at a multifaceted approach. So I don't want people to think that, you know, we're lining up the hunters running down the street right just yet, or that we're gonna spend thousands and thousands of dollars to try to, you know, sterilize and relocate and all that other stuff. It has to be a well thought out plan that it is doable, that's affordable, and that is effective, and it's safe. So I think the committee will look at that and look at all points of view and different approaches. All right, move on to our committees. Let's do the housing, because I know you guys had a presentation, so Bill.
Sure. Bob and Sisley D. Golden did make a few comments regarding the deer under the housing, but mostly saved their comments for public safety and the full committee. Citizen Champ commented on what he reiterated about having a deer committee. Why can't we have a housing committee with citizen input? He also suggested utilizing the nuisance officer in a more positive way with the Department of Development, and he brought to light out of the 28 million federal dollars, not any or very little went towards new housing. So, you know, as we know, housing's a hot button right now, and he suggested again, and we all are on the same page, I hope, that some demolition needs to occur, more demolition, or we're gonna have more arsons and more costs, emergency tear downs and the like. So that was the citizen comment period of it. Crystal spoke on the pro housing award that we've gotten through New York State and HUD, I believe. And it's a pool of money that we're eligible for if we maintain our certification for 2025 of up to $650 million in the big pool. But the amount for awards on this pro housing program, anywhere between $1 million and $10 million. The project period's over a 6-year period ending in September 2029. And some of the activities that might be able to be funded are planning and policy activities, supporting affordable housing, development activities, infrastructure activities, preservation activities, and the like. So there's a lot of examples under each of those categories that we can glean and try to put together for some funding. Crystal also brought out, and I thought in a nice letter almost, about junk and debris and the quality of life issues. It's that time of year, the snow is gone and spring's out and people are cleaning up their homes and forgetting sometimes to mow their lawn. So there's a whole list of things that we're going to share with the DPU, the Post Journal, to get people to be on the mindset and mentally have it there for them to not complain when they get cited, but to take care of their properties, clean it up, be responsible for trash, and be mindful of your pets on the tree lawn and in your front and backyards, and be neighborly, be considerate and polite to your neighbor. It makes it all work for us to get along in these difficult times. And then we had an update from Casey Falk on the annual action plan, and there's handouts for all of council, I believe. I'm sorry, Chris, was there anything I missed?
No, you did fantastic.
Thank you. Did Casey go? Yeah.
She did, yeah.
Okay. There's a handout. It's pretty easy to interpret and read. Of course, these two programs that she made reference to through the HUD action plan that we're going to be implementing. It's for low and moderate income families, and 80% of the county mean family income, not 80%, for a family of four is $65,100. So the median income for the county as an average is $76,300. But a lot of initiatives can be done through the CDBG plan and programs through this. And if you look on the calendar, We have, public input happening, all the way through, June 24, in 2 months. The public hearing on the overall plan, once it's summarized, is May 20th. And, there'll be, time to give more input from the citizens. And then, a couple of proposed, projects, which I was happy to hear that they narrowed it down to a couple that might work. And that's a demo rebuild program, where the properties will be acquired and, demolition and purchase, opportunities for, owners at a 50% cost savings. The other was a, buy or own program, for tenant-based renters, assistance program, where they, a portion of their rent can be applied to an annuity, not an annuity, an escrow account for, a future down payment on a home that if they so choose to buy it after renting it for 2 years. And that was enlightening, I thought, that, gives a neighbor or resident, a chance to learn about the fiscal responsibilities of home ownership and borrowing and making their, decision to own a home instead of pay rent. And that's about all we have.
Any questions?
Any questions?
Great.
Thank you. Good work.
Thank you.
Move on to the finance committee. Mark?
Thank you, Mr. President. We had 4 resolutions. The first is the City of Jamestown check replacement policy, which was revised spring 2024. Purpose behind the policy is to offset the rising costs incurred by the city for replacing lost checks issued by the city. We did get a correction to the fees from the comptroller. The stop payment fee should be $16, and check reissue fee should be $16 as well, for a total cost of $32.
One other thing that was noted was in section B, where it says city to reissue a lost, stolen, or destroyed check, it should also include out-of-date checks. Hold on.
90 days.
What's that?
90 days.
Whatever it is, yeah, checks past
Yes.
that.
Is there a lot of them?
More than you think.
Really?
Yeah, we talked about that.
I believe you were on your 4th issue of one check for somebody.
Called direct deposit.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about
It's
that.
not necessarily a paycheck though. That's the other issue.
Oh.
Cause that's what I said, Jeff.
Yeah, reimbursement checks.
Wow.
Was there a fee prior to this new resolution?
No.
Okay.
That resolution passed. Next resolution, Jamestown Police Department is authorized to enter into a purchase agreement with Robert Green Auto and Truck of Roxmore, New York, for one 2023 Dodge Durango for a total purchase price of $51,908.61. We had some questions on this because just last week we authorized the purchase of 2 2024 Dodge Durangos for $84,000. So this was an increase of about $10,000. In public safety, the police chief apparently told the committee that there's some special equipment that has to be installed for the K-9 that's involved with the domestic violence unit, including cages, door openers, and other things. And that's the reason the cost was brought up by about $10,000. Am I correct, chief?
Yeah. Yes.
Right, so we held off on approval for that until we got clarification. So we will revisit that next week and approve it at that point. The next is Mayor Mark Retzer, authorized and directed to purchase for the Department of Public Works from TopCon Solutions, Warrendale, Pennsylvania, one new TopCon robotic total station to replace the department's outdated equipment for a total not to exceed $37,019.00. And really this actually had to be purchased by March 28th of this year to receive a $6,000 discount. So it's been purchased and paid for. that was approved. And finally, County of Chautauqua included the city of Jamestown in its bidding process for construction materials and services. City of Jamestown has determined that some county proposals may be the most advantageous to the city. So this is authorizing the Director of Public Works to purchase construction materials and services at the prices quoted from the County of Chautauqua, set forth in the Chautauqua County 2024 Construction Season Purchasing Guide. And this is just something we do every year. That was approved. And the comptroller updated us that the ban that we approved last week at the full council meeting the purchase was completed on Thursday. She gave some details on the cost of that. Brooke, do you want to go over those again?
The net interest cost on the 4.5 million, which is the rolled over part, was 4.32625%. And on the addition, the 1740081, the net interest cost is 4.39%. So, in dollars, that's 226,000 on the 4.5 and 74,692 on the 1.7, which will be due in a year. When we decide to roll it over on another ban, I don't expect to do that. I expect us to bond it out for the long term. So at that point in time, the interest due is 270 plus whatever the other costs are involved to do that with capital markets and bond council.
And that'll be due May 16th in 2025.
Yes, we'll have to decide, there'll have to be a vote to do that, and as I had mentioned, if this rolls over next year, we won't have 3 bonds due roughly around the June 1st timeframe, so I mentioned that if it's permissible and wanted, maybe we could, and the garage is done and there are no other costs, maybe we should look at maybe pulling that ahead earlier in the year so we don't have quite as large of a bond payment due in June. Something, I don't know if it's permissible, but it's a question that I'm going to ask our financial advisors and bond counsel to see what our options are.
We have some time.
Yes.
And we also mentioned that there'll be one coming off the books in January,
Yes.
and another one the following year.
Yes.
So,
One a year for the next few years.
Obviously, these rates are fixed rates, correct?
Good, thank you. And that's all we have in the finance committee.
any questions? Move on, Jeff, public safety.
On our agenda, we just had 3 special events. The first special event we tabled at our last meeting, the River Revival, to be held on Saturday, June 29th, 2024 at McRae Point Park from 8 a.m. until 5 p.m., including setup and tear down. This application was previously tabled. The request for alcohol sales had been removed. There was a question about the alcohol, who was going to be monitoring age requirements and how that was all going to be set up, and they elected to remove the alcohol sales. So that was voted on and passed. The second event was is an annual event for third Thursday to be held on Thursdays beginning May 16th, 2024 through September 19th, 2024 at Winter Garden Plaza from 4 p.m. until 10 p.m., including setup and tear down. And that passed as well. And then the third event was obviously the Memorial Day Parade to be held on Monday, May 27th, 2024 from 9 a.m. until 12 p.m. Parade kicks off at 10, lines up down near Baker Park. The route has changed again this year. It's gonna be going, up Prendergast to right onto Sixth Street and then a left on Lakeview and straight down Lakeview. I know it's flip-flop back and forth, so this year it'll be going down Lakeview Avenue. So that was voted on and that passed. We also, we talked about the Dodge Durango. I asked the chief about that. He says, because it's a K-9 vehicle, so there's an increase in cost. I will add that vehicle will be purchased with funds through a grant through DCJS. So that is grant funded, and it's a K-9 vehicle. That's why there's an increase in the cost, because of the special equipment in that vehicle. Bill brought up some concerns on Ivy Street has been recently paved. There's a lot of speeding vehicles from Cole to down to South Avenue. And he brought up some concerns about possible, residents are inquiring about a possible crosswalk at Montauk.
Go across Ivy.
Correct,
from
So-
Montauk.
yes. So there was some discussion about that. The other thing was brought up was a lot of talk about unregistered motor vehicles in the city, and that the DOD is I understand they do have some restrictions on what they can and can't do. They can't be going on private property, they can't be snooping around, trying, basically trespassing on people's property in order to write plates down. They cannot run license plates, they don't have the ability to run registrations, but obviously the police do. I inquired from the police chief if we had some concerned neighbors that possibly, I've been fielding some calls on some vehicles where possibly have switched license plates or registrations that are expired or suspended. The chief said that obviously the uniformed officers are able to run those plates and maybe give some assistance to the DOD if this continues to be a problem, where those vehicles could be removed. There was also, the fire chief briefed us on some of the fires that took place recently, and which JFD always does an absolute outstanding job at keeping other homes nearby safe and making sure fires aren't jumping. And he also briefed us on some of the firefighter candidates that took some recent testing, if you want to jump in and talk about both of those topics, Chief.
Thank you. Just a couple of words about the recent fires that we've had. Unfortunately, the last two major fires that we've had have resulted in emergency demolitions. Our most recent fire that we had over on Spring Street on Friday, we do believe that that was something that was incendiary, means it was intentionally set. Can't really elaborate on any suspects or anything at this moment in time, but it did burn the structure to the point where we were not able to fight it from the inside. It did have to be fought from the outside, which resulted in a lot of structural compromise, and that one was emergency demo. We're still chasing leads with that, and our cause still remains under investigation at this time. As we move forward with it, we're certainly going to try to do our very best to limit those exposures, as Councilman Russell said, and at least be able to confine these, the fires that we've had recently, to the structures of origin. Up on Forest Avenue, we had one a couple weeks ago up there. Unfortunately, that structure was already compromised at the time the fire began. We do suspect that there was some unauthorized occupants inside of that residence. It wasn't currently habitable by the property owner. So unfortunately, that one was structurally compromised as well, and the fire just weakened it further, and that one was also demolished. As far as our recruitment effort goes, we just, over the past weekend, did a recruitment drive down at the Northwest Ice Arena. We did what's called a candidate physical agility test. This one was a little different this year. It was open to the public, so not only were we able to try to draw in candidates that are on the current civil service list, we did open it up to anybody that chose to participate, so long as they signed our waiver. So we did end up with about 40 interested parties down there. Some were under the age of 18, but we didn't take anybody below the age of 17, and hopefully they'll seek a career out in public safety, whether it be fire, law enforcement, or EMS. So we have about pool of 40. We're gonna be kind of collating those lists together to make sure the ones that we're interested in actually do have a spot on the current civil service list and that they're reachable. So we're looking to bring on some more personnel in the near future. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's all we had, Mr. President.
Thank you. All right, Public Works, Randy?
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. We had two resolutions that were also discussed in finance, and they were both approved. The TopCon robotic total station is, it's basically a state-of-the-art unit that can be run by one person rather than the standard two people to do their surveying and their and work for all the roads in the city. And that initially came in, we initially thought that was gonna be $55,000. And then between the drop in the price and the rebate, and that's what brought it down to the 37. So they're looking forward to utilizing that unit. They will still have the other one on standby in case they have to press it into action. So we did discuss that, and the other one was for purchasing construction materials with the discount that the county bids their all their materials and safety materials and that kind of thing out. So kind of piggybacked on them. Other than that, Regina had discussed what Mr. Town had expressed interest that we had just heard. And so we did discuss an early discussion about what possibly could happen up there with the cars coming down 4th Street. And maybe we can further talk about the parking meter possibly. So we did discuss that. But other than that, that was it for us, the two things.
Thank you.
Yep.
Anything else anybody has before we go to Mayor? You're up.
Joe, do you wanna hand these out? Paula is off today, so could not attend tonight, but I have copies of, the entire grant history and update, going back to the inception of when Paula started here, so you have a list of, I believe 20, one of them has changed, grants that we are pending, and I believe 8 that are in process currently. The list that you're provided also includes all that we've been awarded and denied. Again, just want to publicly thank Paula for all her hard work. I know we've put her through a little bit of torture the last month, if you will, with congressional grant applications and federal grant applications and some other stuff. You will see there's some in process, if you want to give some of the media. But if you have any questions, please shoot away at the relative department head or Paula, or even myself. We're waiting to hear from a couple in this timely fashion. Hopefully we'll hear some pretty important ones coming down the pike. I know Jeff mentioned the Memorial Day Parade. I know you all received an email from Mr. Schmeraldo. Please advise him if you're planning on attending. He's working out on all of that detail. And again, I just want to remind the public, as it was brought forward by Mr. Town, it's spring, it's summer, traffic is different, traffic patterns are different, but most importantly, we have a lot of workers out working on the roads and construction. Just trying to remind the public to be cognizant of that, as well as obviously all the law enforcement stuff that's going on and fires. So that was it for me.
Anything else? Any need for executive session?
No need for executive session.
Anything else tonight before the council? I was looking at the agenda, and I'm not sure I'll be able to march on 29, 24. Did you see it? March, May 27th.
Yeah, I brought that up in
I don't know if I'll be
20.
able to walk when I'm
yeah,
Yeah.
962 years old.
you'll probably still be running.
Look at that, that's a long way out.
We have high hopes.
There's high hopes.
That's right.
Nothing else. We do have another work session next week,
Yes.
on the 13th, and then we'll have our voting session on the 20th, because the 27th is the holiday, so 3 weeks in a row. And that's it. Pretty good.
Thank you, everyone.
Meeting adjourned.
Okay.